From our perspective, I want to say, just as German and European companies in America have to comply with the laws in force there and, if necessary, face very draconian penalties, in the same way, American companies in Europe must accept the rules that apply here. And if they do not adhere to the regulations, then of course there are also in place in Germany and in Europe ways to impose sanctions. Legal recourse is available against this.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has issued a firm and unmistakable warning to Washington, directly pushing back against President Donald Trump's criticism of the European Union's massive fine against Elon Musk's X. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stood before cameras and made it clear, Europe will not bend, not even under pressure from Washington. His response came after U.S. President Donald Trump condemned the EU's heavy penalty imposed on X, the social media giant owned by Elon Musk, a decision that has already ignited political fires on both sides of the ocean.
Any reaction on the fine that was imposed to X by the European Union?
For what?
To X, to the platform X, the fine
Wow,
that the
that
European
was
Union
pretty
imposed.
amazing. You're talking about, is that European Union or is it, who did that? European Union or UK?
Yeah, the European Commission.
Whoa, that's a nasty one.
Do you consider it an attack?
Elon has not called me to ask for help on that one. But no, that's a tough thing. I don't think it's right. No, I don't think it's right. I don't see, how they can do that. No. I'll speak about it later. I'm going to get a full report on it. Look, Europe has to be very careful. They're doing a lot of things. We want to keep Europe Europe. Europe is going in some bad directions. It's very bad for the people. We don't want Europe to change so much. They're going in some very bad directions. That was a big thing.
Merz did not flinch. He reminded the world that European law applies to everyone, without exception. American companies, he said, must follow European rules, just as European firms comply with U.S. law, even when penalties are harsh, even when enforcement is aggressive. And he went further, asserting that the EU is a community of law where legal recourse exists for all, but immunity exists for none. Not for Silicon Valley, not for Musk, not even under the shadow of Trump's vocal intervention.
In the negotiations with the U.S. commissions, the American president has involved himself in this dispute between the EU Commission and this platform X, and warned the Europeans against taking this path of sanctions while at the same time addressing the Europeans. He called them weak in an interview. Could you please comment on that?
Of course, I have carefully and thoroughly taken note of the significant and impactful remarks made by the esteemed American president. From our perspective, I want to say, just as German and European companies in America have to comply with the laws in force there and, if necessary, face very draconian penalties, in the same way, American companies in Europe must accept the rules that apply here. And if they do not adhere to the regulations, then of course there are also in place in Germany and in Europe ways to impose sanctions. Legal recourse is available against this. This applies in a state governed by the rule of law. And this also applies in a legal community like the European Union for all companies, not just European ones, but also American and all others. This is the legal framework, this is the legal order in which we operate here in Europe. And this applies to all companies without exception and equally.
The German Chancellor, however, dodges questions on Donald Trump suggesting Ukraine elections.
And if I may, perhaps briefly about Ukraine. US President Donald Trump said in an interview that Ukraine should, that now is the time to hold presidential elections. What is your view on this? And perhaps you could also say a few words about the meeting in London, if possible. Because it is still not clear what is included in the plan and what is not, now that it has been updated.
The talks about Ukraine are ongoing. You know that I was in London yesterday to speak with Prime Minister Stammer, President Macron, and also President Zelensky, and also to discuss the further course of the peace process and coordinate with him. Corresponding joint proposals are currently being developed. These proposals will also be coordinated with the American government in the coming days. And then there will be further talks and, if necessary, negotiations with the Russian side. I want to keep repeating it. Ending this war could be decided by Russia alone within just a few hours. This war does not originate from Ukraine. Rather, it is being waged unilaterally by Russia with undiminished, and in some cases even harsher, brutality against the civilian population. We all have a strong interest in ending this as quickly as possible. Whether the time is ripe for that, well, that may only become clear in the coming days or perhaps weeks.